What's up my homies, DJ80 here, and today I'm going to be doing a review of the ADJ Pro Event DJ booth. Now I know there's lots of reviews of this already, but the one I've got today is the one in black, and I haven't seen many reviews for that. So yeah, I have it here. I'll just give you a quick explanation of why I've bought it. So a few years ago I had the Equinox Micron booth, and then I brought this Denon Prime 4 unit and it didn't fit on it. So I bought this new booth. This is the Gorilla DBS Lite DJ booth. I have done a review on this. It's on my channel if you want to check it out. I adapted this one and put brackets on it so I could have an overhead lighting bar. But what I found more recently is I'm just a bit squeezed for space. It does fit on there, as you can see, but space is a little tight and it doesn't really leave me much room for anything else. So I've now brought the ADJ booth, which I'm going to be opening today. As you can see there's the box. So let's crack on and see what we've got. So here's everything out the box then. You get your shelf, you get the booth in two halves, and you get the front screen. The other side of that is blank. You get a little booklet and you get two crossbars for the shelf to go on. What you don't get, and I've just Googled to double check, is a carry bag for it. And a bag for this separately is about £40. I do have a couple of old bags, which I'll give that a try with, but bit disappointed with that. You'd think for the price, over £300, that they're chucking a carry bag for it. So I'm going to put it together now, and we'll see what it looks like all fitted together. Here she is all set up. It wasn't particularly difficult to set up. I had seen some other videos where they'd just pulled these two sides together and they just slotted in no problem. It might have been because it's the first time I've used it, but I had to sort of get to the middle and squeeze from both sides here, that side and that side, and push it in to make it slot in. But it might be because it's new as well, so it needs wearing in a little bit. The finish is really nice. I don't know how well I can capture that with my phone, but the finish is really nice on every single component on it. You also get 4 of these screws. Let's see if I can, with a little washer. They're for the board at the front, which I'll come to in a moment. It also has these screw parts here. This is for the bars that hold the shelf. So the bars slot in and then you can screw them in tight. And it has that on both. But also it has underneath the board, it has 3 of these Velcro straps, which you can, if you want, loop round the shelf bar to add extra security for the shelf. But the shelf is lipped, so it can't just slide anyway. It's got a lip on it, which I think will be enough, especially with my decks on it as well, weighing it down. The shelf is okay. It's quite thin. It's not super thin, don't get me wrong, but you couldn't sit on that without it breaking. But it'll be more than enough, I think, for, you know, your decks and your mixer and all your other equipment that you'll be using. So looking at the front board, I've put the blank one on here. So I've just secured it with 2 screws. You'll see, I don't know if you can see there, that the holes aren't perfectly aligned. You can see that metal framework there. And that's the same for that one as well. And I have got it up the right way because the ADJ is up there. Now you might say, well, if you turned it round so that that was on the front, then they might line up, and you might be right. But this was this blank one. In fact, I think I'm going to respray both these sides because I've got Just School Discos and DJ80 Disco, so I'll have one for each. The finish on this board, let me just, it's not the best finish in the world. You can see it's a bit rugged, but your clients aren't going to notice that from a distance. What I did, it's not, you know, it's not the biggest issue in the world at all, but that there, that screw, it isn't in tight anyway, but you can just see where it's cut. You see that? Now that crack there isn't from the screw, because it doesn't reach all the way over to the screw. It was already on the board. You can just see, let's take that out. You can just see that finish on there. It's not fantastic, but again, it's not the end of the world either. And certainly, your clients from a distance, they're not going to spot that at all. So let me put my decks on and my other bits and pieces. We'll see where we're at. Well, I'll just quickly roughly set it up with my speakers and the cables. And obviously at a gig, my speakers aren't going to be that close to the booth if I can help it. So yeah, I'll just show you what it looks like. So I've got everything plugged in, a wireless transmitter for my microphone. I've got some workspace there as well. And yeah, I'm pleased with that. I've got this issue to deal with, because obviously we have that behind our side of the booth every night, but it's not a good look when you can see it from the front as well. Now I have seen on other YouTube videos, people have put some backing behind here and just done it with Velcro, which is something that I might well look at. It's just one little idea that I've had already. They're battery powered lights there. Well, I did get lucky. I had this bag here, which is actually brand new. I bought it from eBay, and I bought it so many years ago that I can't even find it on my eBay history. But yeah, this is a bike bag. So it's a bag that's designed for push bikes, bicycles, you know, the fold up ones, the electric ones and that. So it's quite sturdy, and it's got a little zip at the front as well. I think, if I remember, it was about 20 quid or thereabouts. It wasn't overly expensive, but it fits, and I've actually got room at the top and at the end, so I can add stuff to the booth and keep it attached to the booth whilst I'm carrying it. And because it's designed for bicycles, it's nice and sturdy, takes the weight of the booth really well. So that's what I've used, the bike bag there for my travel bag for the booth. Okay, so on to the conclusion then. I've written pros and cons down on some sticky notes, so I've got quite a few. And as always, I'm going to start with the cons. Right, my biggest gripe with this booth is you don't get a bag with it. Just about every DJ booth you buy comes with some sort of bag or carry case. Not so with this one. At the moment, if you do want a bag for it, it's going to cost you about £40. Obviously, prices can go up and down. So that's the biggest negative. It's not quite as easy to put together as I thought it would be. So I've seen plenty of videos on YouTube of the silver ones, and they just slot together, you know, nice and easy. I saw one guy do it with one arm. It might be because it's new, but essentially, when you've been watching the videos, you would have seen that, you know, that you just have them flat and they slot together like that. But with this one, it doesn't do it quite as easily as that, and in the tube part, I've used the cloth and I've cleared out some dust, metal dust that was in there. And I've put just a slight film of oil around the socket that goes in too, to try and ease that up. So it might get better as I use it. But what I have found at the moment is if I join them together at an angle like this, and then try and slot them in, and it seems to work a bit better. So it's a slight negative, and I think it will just improve over time. Another negative is, it's not really a negative, but it's a bit heavier than some other booths. And that's just going to come because of its size. So, you know, if you want a bigger booth, it stands to reason it's going to be a bit heavier. So I'm used to the Gorilla DBS Pro, which is a bit lighter. It's not super heavy, it is lightweight, but just bear that in mind if weight is a consideration that you have. All right, next, the overhead lighting bar. So I've spoken to a few DJ shops this week, and there is an overhead lighting kit that's available for this booth. So this is the ADJ version, but there's also the Equinox Truss booth, and there's some generic brand ones as well, which is the same booth. And obviously this one being in black, I was looking for an overhead kit that would be in black too, and that's just started to come into the shops now. But I've chosen not to use it, and I shall tell you why. The kit is a piece of truss that's shaped like this, and it goes along the top here, and there's two poles that clamp onto the back part of the booth here. Now that overhead kit is 2.2 meters tall, which I shall show you, takes you to, where are we? Can't see it. There. All right, so that high is the top of the overhead kit. Now you can see that's a stretch for me. I'm 5'6" and a bit, and I'm on tiptoes there trying to reach that. So you can imagine then, I've got my overhead lighting bar, I've got all my lights on it, and I've now got to try and reach up and slot that onto the poles as well. So that's the first problem that I have. And the second problem, which is going to be a big problem for many of you mobile DJs, is that the poles that the overhead kit will go on are not height adjustable. So they're fixed length. And for me, because I work in different venues, some have low ceilings, social clubs and stuff, they have little mini stages which raises them, but the ceiling isn't any higher, and so I might not be able to use the kit. So it's a negative until they bring out a height adjustable overhead kit. Talking about adding on extras to your booth, one of the reasons I did buy this booth was because I had lots of framework to work with. And this booth, the framework on it is 32 mil, so it's called 32mm truss. And normal clamps aren't going to work. So the clamps that you need for this booth are called F24 32 to 35mm truss couplers. And they look like these. These have just come today, they're brand new. I've stuck one on the booth. But basically what these will allow you to do is allow you to clamp one side onto your booth, and the other side is wide enough for a standard speaker size pole, 35mm. So you can attach normal size poles to the clamp. So I've got these because I'm going to be modifying this booth, which I'll be showing you in another video that'll be coming up on my channel soon. And obviously if you don't want to go for the overhead kit but you do want to add stuff on, you're going to need these ones. And yes, you're going to have to pay a little bit extra if you want the black ones and not the standard silver ones. All right, I think that's all my negatives done. Okay, right, now on to the pros. All right, so without a doubt, one of the big plus points for this booth is this finish. It's a really nice paint, black powder coat I think it is, finish on the whole of the booth, and no parts are missed out. It's really nice. And I think for me, I paid the extra for a black one, and it just looks much more sleeker and much more elegant. And I just think it's a nice look. I'm a big fan of black anyway, and I just like the look, so that's a plus point. There's lots of shelf space, which was the key feature that I was looking for in my new booth, as you saw earlier. I've got my big play out unit on it, and I've still got lots of extra space for other stuff. It's quick to assemble. It'll probably take you a minute or two to assemble this, as you get used to sort of taking it apart and putting it together again. As I said earlier, it's just getting these bits to slot in properly. If you can do that quickly, then the rest of it is just 2 shelves on the top. So as far as booths go, there isn't lots of construction to do, and that's a plus point because time is money. What else we got? Yes, the framework, another plus point. Got lots of options here to put in my clamps and mount extras, which was one of the key things, key reasons I bought this. I'm actually thinking about using some clamps maybe and having a light on the front here instead of the board. And the board is another great feature. I'm toying whether to use this board or not, and if I do, I might just put a sticker over it, I might spray it, I might get it printed with my logo. But it's handy to have. As you can see, I have already started my modifications on this because I actually got this last week and I'm doing this part of the video a week and a half later. And I've blacked out the front, and I might just keep it blacked out as well. I haven't yet decided, but you'll need to watch my modification video for that. So moving on then. Okay, another part, talking of the framework, a double-edged sword. So I've chosen to block this bit out, but when I originally bought these panels that I've put here, I was going to cut them and have this bit open so that the guests and the people who book you can actually see you at work. Sometimes that's quite nice when you're working and the clients can actually see that you're not just pressing play on a laptop, that you're actually physically sort of mixing music or proactively doing something behind the decks and not just sitting there pressing play and staring at your phone. So that can be a plus point, but it can also be a negative point as well, because you will sometimes get guests or clients at your gigs who want to come and have a look at your equipment. So if they can see it through here, and oh, that looks quite nice, let's go over and have a look. Even worse, if they've had a few drinks and they're coming up with a drink and they want to have a look. And if you've got a DJ as a guest at your wedding, he's almost certainly going to want to come and have a look. So it's a pro and a con having that bit there where you can see through it. But for now, I've chosen to block it off for the moment, but I might just cut that bit off. And of course, the other major positive with this is it can be used for things other than DJing. It is advertised as the ADJ Pro Event Table, not DJ booth. So whilst most people do buy it for a DJ booth, you can use it for other events. If you're doing wedding fairs, for instance, but you don't want to take your decks out with you because you're not actually going to be playing out, this will be great, and all sorts of other reasons. And that's a plus point further down the line for when you decide you want to sell it on, because you don't have to sell it just as a DJ booth. You can sell it, to small businesses who are looking for some sort of desk or table to present from. It's perfect. So that's another plus point. It is movable. So one thing, I didn't buy it for this because I didn't know it did it until I got it. But it's fantastic because this tubing is all rounded around the front and down the sides. That means when you're at a gig, you can move it really easily if you need to. Just reposition it. So when I set up my rig, I tend to, before we start playing music, I go out and then have a look at my rig straight on so I can see what the guests are going to see in the evening. And invariably, I tend to have to try and adjust it a little bit because I like it to try and be as symmetrical as possible. And because of these tubular bottoms, you can just slide it, move it, pull it backward, pull it forward. And you can't do that with other booths that have the little legs at the bottom. So my older booth, it has the little legs on it, which are for uneven floor surfaces. So you just unscrew them, make them a bit longer, and it just kept the booth balanced. if you need to do that with this booth, if you're on an uneven floor, you're going to need to make sure you've got some beer mats with you. Good old beer mats, and just tuck them underneath the bit where it might wobble or such. But something else that I've noticed with this is because it doesn't use those little feet, and the whole bottom part of this booth is firmly planted on the floor, it means it's never going to topple. You can't hit it at an angle, it'll topple. So if I come at it from the side, I'm a drunk guy and I've got my pint, it doesn't matter how hard I go into this, it's not going to topple over and all my decks fall over. And even if someone came running in and hit it full tilt, it's still not going to topple. I didn't know that when I bought it, but it's something I've realised now, and it's a really, really good plus point, because it's one less thing to worry about when you're at a gig and the clients are coming up to you, maybe making requests, or for whatever reason they're coming up to talk to you. It's just a little bit of peace of mind to know that you haven't got to listen to them. Keep an eye on your music, make sure you've got a song queued up, and hold on to your booth as well in case it gets knocked over. So this is a brilliant little selling point, and it's worth noting. And I think that's pretty much it, apart from the price. So the pricing of this is around about, I'd say, about £300. Okay, I paid more than £300, and you're gonna pay more than £300 if you want one in black. The ones that aren't in black are slightly cheaper, and that's fair because during the manufacturing process, that black coat has to be applied, and there's a cost to that. So it's fair that the black ones do cost a bit more, but I think considering the value of some of the other booths that are cheaper and some of the other booths that are more expensive, about £300 is a reasonable price for this booth. And but based on its build and that, it's going to last a long while. I think that's pretty much it, really. I think I've covered all the pros to this DJ booth. I'm really looking forward to getting out and gigging with it. I'm going to be doing another video with all the mods that I've done, and I have started. There's some stuff I've done that you can't see yet, but subscribe to my channel, and the video with all the mods, when I've got all the new lighting and that arrive, I'll show you, and I'll give you a breakdown of what I did to make it look how it looks in the video. That's pretty much it, guys. Thanks very much for watching. I hope it's been a help. I hope you enjoyed it. And yeah, I've been DJ80, and I shall see you next time. Bye for now.